Welcome. I am going to share in this video how to use YouTube to market your business. Years ago, a friend of mine told me, you need to be doing YouTube marketing. You're crazy for not, because it's such a great opportunity. I took a chance and listened to him, and I'll tell you more about him in a minute. And let me tell you something, he was right. You're watching me right now, which is proof that his strategy worked. And so I'm going to share with you how I applied his strategy to market and grow leads for my business. So the problem with so much online marketing and even YouTube marketing too, is that so much of it is just shots in the dark, right? Spending money on Facebook ads and hoping you get a good client, right? Creating these expensive funnels and lead magnets and products. It can take so much time and energy and money and effort in order to build out effective lead generation online. And YouTube isn't much different. I had done YouTube strategies before, but the problem was I wasn't doing it strategically enough. I wasn't using the right strategies. So the solution is what my friend Nate Woodbury taught me. So Nate Woodbury is actually the producer of my channel, and I'm gonna lift back the curtain so you can learn a little bit about how we do this channel and why it's so effective. Just to give you a little background, I had been doing YouTube marketing, not a lot of it, but I'd been creating videos and posting videos for a few years. And over those few years, I built up, I think it was 264 subscribers to my channel. Now, since I implemented what Nate Woodbury from Be the Hero Studios, which you can link to his company below in the notes, what he taught me, it didn't necessarily, we don't have millions of subscribers. We don't even have hundreds of thousands of subscribers yet. But even with a small number of subscribers, with this targeted strategy, we've been able to generate leads for the business. In fact, those leads are growing month over month. And I've just been doing this for about 18 months, maybe 2 years at the most. So what it entails is creating basically what I call, not necessarily what he would call, a thought leader strategy on YouTube. What does that mean? It means identifying what's that niche, what's that space that you want to own on YouTube, and then posting a whole lot of content about it so that you can own that space. I'll get into more details in a minute. So the strategy for how to get leads with YouTube, like I said, starts with finding that niche. So what you do is you start by saying, all right, what's this thought space that I want to own on YouTube? So for example, to use me as an example, I wanted to attract my ideal audience. My ideal audience are successful speakers, authors, coaches, and consultants. Specifically, speakers, authors, coaches, and consultants who want to create new revenue streams and monetize them. And so the way Nate explains the strategy, which you can probably see a whole bunch of videos on his site that go much more into depth on this, but essentially he says, you want to think of it like a tree, okay? You've got a tree that has a trunk, which is the bulk of the tree's support, and then there's branches, and then there's leaves on the tree. Now, usually, so if you think about the trunk of the tree as the core big topic, and the branches as subtopics, and the leaves as little very specific topics, most people think, oh, I should go after the trunk of the tree. I should, let's say the trunk is, I wanted to be an expert on coaching businesses, right? That would be the trunk of the tree. Then you might do a bunch of videos about how to create a coaching business, how to create a coaching business. But first of all, there's not very many of those broad topics. And second of all, it's very hard you'd be competing with a lot of people to own that big, broad topic. So instead, what Nate says is what you do is you do a leaf strategy. So you create content that's very specific, that all of them lead back to the trunk, that they're related to the trunk. So for example, if you look at my videos, you can see how to grow a retreat business, how to create a mastermind, how to grow group coaching revenues, how to sell group coaching programs. All these topics about coaching, and specifically about group coaching, all come back to that trunk, but I don't actually have probably a video that's, what is coaching, right? So the next thing you have to understand is how to do keyword research for YouTube marketing. So you could sit down and on a piece of paper, write down all the leaf topics you can think of, and that would be maybe a little bit effective. But the way Nate teaches it is that it's way more effective to first do keyword research. So it's like working backwards. So instead of you from your head coming up with these ideas, what you do is you go and basically ask the world, what are the topics? What are the keywords? What are the terms? What are the questions that you have? Find those words and then come back and say, okay, I can answer that question. I can speak to that topic. I can do this. So you're basically reverse engineering your YouTube videos to be able to get traffic on them from day one. So if you do keyword research, and there are all these tools out there, you just look for keyword research tool or use the one that I use, which is semrush.com. Those tools, you can look up your topic. I could look up group coaching, and then what it'll do, it'll spit back whole bunch of terms and phrases that tell me what do people want to know about group coaching. And then I can pick out the ones that I want to talk about. So you're reverse engineering your YouTube channel based on keyword research. And now before you move on to create the content to these terms, you'll want to look on YouTube and see if there's any competition for the terms that you've picked. So for example, if I picked a phrase like how to start my own retreat business, which is one of my, I think, top videos, I would have probably gone to YouTube, typed that in and seen, does anybody else own this? Has anybody else done a video on this? Now, chances are if you're picking nice and narrow topics, you could be the only person with that keyword result. And if that's the case, you're gonna pop right up to the top of the keyword searches once you load up a video with that topic, most likely. The next thing you'll wanna do is take those keyword terms and design your content. So what I do, what I'm looking at right here, right now, is creating an outline for each video. So I take each topic and just jot down a few ideas, a few key points, and then no teleprompter, no scripts. I just look down at my notes and say, oh, the next thing I want to talk about is how to design and optimize your content, right? And then I talk about it, and then sometimes I forget what I'm going to say next. So I look back at my paper, back at my computer, and talk about the next thing. So you can keep it pretty casual. And I mean, you could either do it all in one take and just go with it and roll with it, or you can do what we do and have someone edit the videos and edit out any of the mistakes or any of the, in between stuff that you don't necessarily want people to see. So make sure, by the way, that you answer the question or that you address the topic that people gave you, but don't think that doesn't mean you can't include other stuff. So for example, I can sometimes use a keyword term that has traffic and change the conversation to be more aligned with what I do. Here's an example. Somebody might ask, how to grow a coaching business. Now that's a pretty broad question, but what I can do is say, hey, there are a lot of different ways to grow a coaching business. Here's my favorite way. And then I can dive deeper into my topic, which is how to create a retreat or a mastermind group coaching business. So you can take a broad topic and then narrow it down to be more aligned with you and your narrow niche focus. And then the last thing that you absolutely positively can't forget is to have a call to action in every single video. So a call to action is a way to gather your people closer. Think of it like any way that you can bring people closer into your world. So that might look like, for example, hey, subscribe to my channel. That's a great way to get more people on your channel who will then get notified every time you create a new video. So that's essential. And we usually do that somewhere around the middle of each video. Another thing to do, and definitely do probably at the end of each video, is to offer a way for people to go deeper. Now that might be to send them to your website and give them some sort of free gift in exchange for their email. Now you're collecting their email and you'll be able to communicate with them regularly on a different platform. Another thing might be to invite them to a Facebook group or to follow you on Instagram. But essentially what you're doing is getting that relationship to become even closer and more intimate. And then another thing you might do, this is one of the things I do pretty often, is invite people to have a meaningful conversation about what it might look like to work with you. I'm a big believer in chatting and talking in order to enroll people in programs. I don't have a lot of funnels or sales pages or trying to sell products and services online. It's great if you do, but I'm a big believer in the one-on-one conversation and enrolling people into my group programs from that. So what's going to be your call to action? That really depends on your business model. So if this is exciting for you, the opportunity to market and promote your coaching business in a new way, then let's connect. This is what I do. I help speakers, authors, coaches, consultants grow their businesses by doing group programs. And one of the things we do is help them market and drive leads. So if you want to connect with me, go to superstaractivator.com/go to discover and explore if and how I might be able to help you grow your business.